Hey everyone, welcome back to XVolt Tech. So as of when this video is going up, there's a little more than a year and a half until Microsoft officially ceases making updates to the general public for Windows 10, and that date's going to be on October 14th, 2025. While Windows 10 will still be usable and Microsoft will continue to push out security updates for those who pay, the general end of support for Windows 10 will completely mark the end of an era, not just for Windows, but possibly for internet culture, which will usher in a new era dominated by Windows 11 and soon to be released AI-focused Windows 12. Windows 10 released to the public on July 29th, 2015. With this release, Microsoft announced to the world that this would be the definitive version of Windows and that no other new versions will be made. However, as we now know, Windows 11 came out on October 5th, 2021, and the official end-of-life date was announced on April 27th, 2023. Windows 10's market share surpassed that of Windows 7's by the beginning of 2018, and still continues to hold strong today despite Windows 11 being around for 2.5 years. Just as Windows 7 was considered the last good version of Windows, some could possibly say that Windows 10 was probably the last decent version of Windows. But of course that is extremely subjective, and I'm sure I'm going to get comments of people arguing that Windows 10 was not the last decent version and that Windows 11 is actually good. Or something, I don't know. Windows 11 upon its release received a lot of criticism from mostly die-hard Windows users who really did not like a lot of the changes that Microsoft had made with Windows 11 and refused to upgrade their computers. A big criticism, which wasn't necessarily on tech people, but mostly on the general Windows community, so to say, is Windows 11's strict hardware requirements, preventing a lot of people from upgrading to Windows 11. As of February 2024, Windows 10 holds a very large majority of all Windows operating system market share, with 68%. This is compared to Windows 11's measly 28%. Way more than third place, but nowhere close to first place. And it's likely that Windows 10 will continue to hold such a dominant position in the Windows market for the near future. And I'm not really 100% sure how the end of life will actually affect these numbers. Because of how dominant computers are in our modern society, operating systems can really affect internet culture and also just how people work in general. Operating systems tend to be era-defining. When you think of different areas of the 2000s and the 2010s and now the 2020s, you think of all the big operating systems and technology. You think of Windows XP, you think of Mac OS X, you think of Windows 7, and even the iPhone and the iPad. All of these are significant markers of human culture tied into technology. And this is why I believe Windows 10 has a really big foothold in internet culture just as much as Windows 7 and XP, especially now that Windows 10 is nearing 9 years old this year. Something people like to talk about when it comes to operating systems is what the older versions don't have that makes them better because of what the new versions have. Specifically, case in point, like I mentioned in my previous video, Windows 7 did not have a Metro UI or Microsoft accounts, which is part of the reason why many people consider it to still be great. Windows 10, in its own sense, has this similar position, as Windows 10 is nowhere near as AI-focused as Windows 11 is pushing, and how much Microsoft is pushing Windows 12 to be almost entirely AI-focused. I personally will never be switching to Windows 11. I already tried it out for a period of time on both my main PC and my PC at my dad's house, and both of them have since been downgraded back to Windows 10. And either way, I've already switched to Linux, so I'm not going to be touching any new versions of Windows anytime soon. Some of you may agree or disagree with me when it comes to whether or not Windows 10 was era-defining, but unfortunately change is a thing that has to happen, and this will be inevitable as Windows 11 does slowly grow its market share. But how many of you will still be using Windows 10 in 2 years? How many of you will upgrade to 11 or 12 or whatever comes next? And how many of you are going to switch to Linux or Mac OS? Thanks for watching.